Hello, this is Brian Hegney, Instructor of Communication at High Point University. Today I want to go over a few tools and techniques in Photoshop where I think an entry-level person who's getting into drawing and sketching can use Photoshop's brushes and colors and layers to make a fairly decent sketch of a character. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple things here. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of show you what I'm going to start with. And what I'm going to start with is this little drawing of a narwhal here. And I'm going to double click this JPEG. And this is just a sketch I made. On tracing paper, and it's on tracing paper because I am a terrible drawer. And it took me a long time to kind of do this sketch. And this is a narwhal that's eating a nori and noodle sandwich. You get to see it's an N. And you can see there's some smudges here, there's some mistakes in my sketching, and there's a couple line weights here. Again, I drew this like 20 times to get this right, and I used sketch tracing paper so that I could just keep trying and trying. Okay, so that's the first thing that I'm gonna kind of open up in Photoshop. But I wanted to show that. So let's go ahead and, you know what? I'm just gonna drag this into, can I do that? Can I do that? I'm just gonna drag it into my icon. Of course I can't do that because it's not a Mac, so oh goodness. Okay. I'm used to using a Mac now. I don't know why. Well, let me just drag it up here, and I guess I can see the icon, and it says plus. Yay, there it goes. So I can do it that way, which is kind of cool. The other thing I can do is I can just close that. I could say File, Open, and I can navigate to where that thingy is. It's in Delete Me, Narwhal, and there it is. Yay, good job. So as you can tell, I'm going to hold down Z and I'm going to zoom in, and you can see that you can see a lot of the tracing paper stuff, and I don't really like that, obviously. So what I'm going to do, oops, hello there, Creative Cloud. The first thing I want to do with this is kind of make this into a smart object, and you'll see why I'm going to turn it into a smart object. So I'm going to right-click or command-click, stop it, or control-click this, but I'm gonna, on a Mac, we'll right-click this layer. And number one, I'm gonna actually unlock it by left-clicking that little lock piece. I'm gonna right-click it now, and I'm gonna say convert to a smart object. Okay, convert to a smart object. And the reason I'm going to do that, you will find out later. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and now I'm going to go into that smart object. Well, first I'll name it. Let's say I will left click where it says layer 0, double click it, and I will call this narwhal. Here we go. And I'm going to double click it to kind of go into that layer. Okay, so I'm going to double click the icon, not double click this layer panel thing, because that won't do anything except bring this cool stuff up. Cancel that. Double click the little icon in the layers panel. There. Now it looks like nothing happened, but I can assure you something did happen. Number one, it opened up a second tab here. Notice this says layer0.psb. That stands for Photoshop Big, I believe. I don't know why it kept layer 0 as the name instead of narwhal, but notice I have two different tabs open. They're both slightly different. When I click on my o3.jpg, the original one, I can see that this is called narwhal, and it has that little iconography there. When I click on the tab that just opened up, look at this is called layer 0, and it is there is the normal thing going on there. All right. First thing I might want to do is I might want to, let's say, you know what, I'm going to add an adjustment layer because I want to get rid of all of this trace paper stuff, right? I don't like that because I want this to be a really cool drawing. So I'm going to click on adjustments right here, and there are probably plenty of ways to do this. I go with trusty levels, which is this icon, second icon from the left on the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this dark slider to the right, which is going to make all of, which is going to make many more of my pixels dark. And the other thing I'm going to do is try to find a way to make everything kind of dark or black and white to a point, not completely black and white, because I do want a little bit of grayscale. Let's go ahead and drag this slider to the right. There. And what that is doing is basically saying all of these pixels that used to be almost white are now white. Anything to the right of this slider here. And then I can kind of play with this. Okay, there we go. And that is probably good enough. Now when I zoom in here, look at it, it's still pixelated. There's still kind of variance of gray here, and I'll work with that. That'll be fine. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing I might want to do is kind of clean up a little bit, right? So if you have some mistakes here, what I'm going to do is highlight that bottom layer, which I should have called that. I'm going to double click that and call that narwhal. There we go. And I'm going to add a new layer using this little create new layer icon. I'm going to left click it. And I am going to double click where it said layer 1, and I'm going to call this cleanup. And from there, I'm going to tap B to go to my brush. And I'm going to make sure that white is on top. And I'm going to use my bracket keys, or I'm going to hit Alt, left, right click, drag to the left to kind of resize my brush. Let go of my mouse, let go of Alt, and I'm going to draw. I'm going to now paint white and kind of cover up any of the mistakes that I kind of made there. And because I'm painting white, I can actually, if I make a mistake and do that by accident, I can just look at, and because I'm painting white on a new layer, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to turn off the narwhal layer. And you see I painted white there, so I can always toggle that on and off. Or, you see that? If I accidentally delete or paint over something that should be black, I'm going to switch colors by using this little switchy tool. Turn that to black. No, of course I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually erase it. Sorry, I'm going to use the erase tool, or tap E, and, use the same brush size tools, and I'm going to erase that little bit there. So I'm going to paint, do a combination of painting, resizing, this is supposed to look like Nori, by the way. Maybe I didn't do my image research enough. I don't know. Let's hope I did. Right? And so I could do this all day, but I won't. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and kind of make sure all of this stuff looks really nice. The next thing I want to do, though, is I want to just isolate this this animal, and I don't want the background. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to left click the narwhal here, the layer, and I'm going to use, this time I'm going to use my magic wand tool, and I'm going to click it, and it should select everything around it. See that? Now, if I didn't have a great image to start off with, a lot of times I will actually make a little bit of a mistake, and I'm actually going to use my white paint on the narwhal. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to kind of show you what happens if I kind of have a mistake and I don't finish my line work. And I try to do that little magic wand, it actually selects everything inside too. As long as there's a way in, it will select it. So I'm going to hit Control D to deselect, and on my painting here, on my narwhal painting or drawing, I'm going to actually paint. I'm going to connect all of my lines in a way that hopefully looks acceptable there. right? And now I've got it. So that's just digitally kind of cleaning up here. I may do that where I want to kind of refine my line work a little bit there. The point is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the magic wand again, left click here to select the entire outer ring. From here, I'm going to, you could do this two ways. I am going to right click and to say select inverse. Now when I do that, it will select everything but the outside. And essentially selecting the narwhal and the sandwich and his little horn. And from there, again, making sure you have your drawing layer selected. From there, I'm going to click on Create a Mask, or Add a Mask Layer. And what that does, or Add Layer Mask, what that does is that now blocks out everything but the narwhal. Now, obviously, you'll see there's some white edges here. This actually did not do a great job, and I'll show you how to figure that out. Number one, Option or Alt-click their mask on that new layer. And what I'm going to do is now see, oh, everywhere there's white, it's actually showing the original trace paper stuff. So I'm going to actually paint that black. Now, don't paint black here, because if I have this image icon clicked, and I paint black, it's just like I was doing it previously. I would be painting black on that narwhal. I don't want to do that. I want to paint black on the mask. And when I paint black on the mask, I can, you know, erase that part of the narwhal. Of course, I can always paint white back over that on the mask layer. See, when I have the mask enabled, and I'm repainting, I'm showing that part of the picture. So when you have a mask, whatever's black disappears, whatever's white is visible. So I'm going to go ahead and Alt-click that mask so I can see what is white, and kind of just paint with a black brush everything that is, all these little white specks, they just need to disappear there. There we go. And when I do that, that should be good. There we go. There we go. I'm going to Alt-click this again so I can see my little guy. Again, I still have my little cleanups here. Oh, let me see something. I actually can, you see my little cleanup shouldn't be there, so I'm actually going to click my cleanup and erase. Erase from that. There we go. You know, may need to do a little bit more cleanup. Now, when I'm done, notice what I've done. I did a number of things. Let's shift click. You can shift click a mask to turn it off. I started with the little narwhal. I added the levels adjustment layer and tweaked it so that the darks are really dark and the lights are really white. I added a little bit of cleanup if I needed to. And then I finished the outline strokes with black paint on the image itself, and then selected the little guy that I'm working with and added a mask to it. And then it was good, and then I cleaned up the mask. And now I'm going to close this little pin here, X out this little tab, and say, yes, I'm going to save this layer. Yes. When I do that, okay, what you see is I've got this other image here. It looks like the same image, but guess what? All the layers are condensed or collapsed inside this one layer. So this is a smart object. A smart object can contain many other layers inside of it. And to get back to it, if I can double click this, like I could turn off that adjustment layer, click X on the little tab there, save it, and it'll look like that again, right? So I can constantly go in and adjust this. I can even add, like, you know, I can add a new layer and create a little, you know, French mustache, right? Exit, save it, and there's the little mustache. But I'm going to turn that off now and save it again. And that's the end of this first video, preparing your sketches as smart objects. And I will see you again. Bye!